Rubicon Estate's ascent to the upper tier of Napa Valley is due primarily to the driving forces behind it: Francis Ford Coppola, his family, and their commanding vision to build a great estate winery on the legacy of Inglenook. What this award tonight acknowledges are the contributions of Rubicon's Director of Winemaking for nearly 20 years, Scott McLeod. In working with the fruit of this 1,700-acre estate in the heart of Rutherford, Scott produces some of the most exciting wines in California. Not just Rubicon itself, but the historical cask, Cabernet Sauvignon, and stellar Rhone-style wines. When Scott first received the call from Mr. Coppola to craft Rubicon's wines in 1991, he knew he'd found the job of his dreams. Today, he promises that his wines will only get better and better.
Well, welcome to Rutherford. This is one of the birthplaces of Cabernet Sauvignon in the New World. It's a place that I find I've called home for the last 18 years. It's been an honor to be nominated. It's been even a greater honor to win the Winemaker of the Year award to the Wine Enthusiast. My wine background is kind of funny because I got into the wine business basically because my mother knew of the fermentation science program at UC Davis. If my mother wanted me to go to college to learn how to make beer and wine, I thought, fantastic. I mean, that's what I wanted to hear at age 18. But I went straight to Davis and found the education's really lacking in my most important point, which was hands-on experience. And I packed up and I moved to Italy, and I went to work in Italy for just about 3 years in the Chianti Classico region. And working out there between Florence and Siena, in my early 20s, I came to realize that even though everyone might make in their case, Chianti Classico, nobody has your property. And when I came back, I vowed to find a piece of property. Upon graduating from Davis, my college roommate of 4 years gave me a bottle of the Francis Coppola family wine, Cabernet Franc, 1982, which is a very funny twist of fate because I always wondered where that property was. Everybody knew where Inglenook was, but nobody knew where Niebaum Coppola was. And when I had my interview with the Coppolas on the porch of the Niebaum Mansion back in early 1992, I found it. And what a beautiful piece of ground it was. We've never purchased grapes for the wines of the Rubicon estate. And that's saying a lot for the 30-plus years, the 35 years the Coppolas have been in the industry here. The fact that they've never purchased grapes to blend into the Rubicon has always been a pure expression of a place held really in stewardship. When I look at the pleasures of winemaking, and first and foremost you realize that not all wine is art, but wine that is art is perhaps one of the greatest agricultural commodities ever produced. It's been a journey. When you work 18 years at a single vineyard, everything changes. The way we made wine that I inherited, let's say, that were produced in the mid-'80s is completely different than the wines we made in the 90s. The wines we made in the 90s are completely different than the wines we make today. And as things change, the more you realize that the only constant, honestly, the only constant is the vineyard. As much as we might change vineyard spacing, trellising, all of those things, you don't change the ground. And I look at what we consider ripe in 1988, look at what we consider ripe in 1995, and what we consider ripe in today's standard. These wines are completely different. But I guarantee you, they all taste like they come from the same place.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Wine Enthusiast's Winemaker of the Year, Scott McLeod.
Steve, thank you so much. I know you nominated me, and I very much appreciate that. Quickly, I just want to say a couple of things, which is I learned two great lessons in the wine business, and a third I learned along the way by myself. And the first one was, well, as I said before, you are your property. And when I came back from Italy, I realized that there was a great property in California, and that to find a piece that was still pure and that was committed to maintaining the legacy of an individual estate, and then moving it to organic certification and bringing the wines forward that we've made. It's been a really tremendous experience. The other lesson I learned from Francis, and he told me once, he said, you know, at the end of the day, wine is entertainment. I never looked at wine that way, but once I did start looking at wine that way, I made much more pleasurable, immediately enjoyable wines for the idea of giving pleasure. The other thing I learned on my own, which is you never make wine by yourself. And to receive this award as the person that made the wines is not necessarily true. I worked with a lot of really, really great people. And the people that make wine, from vineyard workers all the way through to everyone in the world that helps us sell wine. What scares a winemaker more than anything is a cellar full of wine. I just want to say thank you very much. I'm nothing without my staff. And thanks everybody for the nomination.